Dudes on Movies podcast with your hosts, Scott Charboneau and David Lynn Miller.
Welcome to Dudes on Movies. I'm your dude, Scott.
I'm your dude, Dave.
And today we're discussing 2013's Her, directed by Spike Jonze and starring Joaquin Phoenix, Amy Adams, and Scarlett Johansson. But before we do that, let's talk about what we've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
I went to Fear City from 1984.
Okay.
It's a scuzzy Abel Ferrara film. And,
Sounds great.
Yes. I mean, it's not the best movie, but it does put you in the right mood because it's the New York City that we love looking at.
Uh-huh.
The movie's about a martial arts expert serial killer whose victims are sex workers. And
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean it's just exactly what Abel Ferrara is all about, you know. There's at least two sequences where we see this guy in his private home dojo working out, and then he gets his knives ready and stuff. It's just the best,
Dude.
Yeah, and it's got Tom Berenger and Melanie Griffith and Billy D. Williams and Ray Don Chong. And Michael V. Gazzo is in it.
Jeez.
He plays like this club owner who and like Melanie Griffith is obviously the main potential victim. You know, the one that the killer wants. And there's a history between her and Tom Berenger. And it just, the setting, the costuming, everything, the cinematography, it's all so great to just, it's exactly what we like.
It sounds right up my alley.
It is, yeah.
Is it better than, like, Driller Killer?
It's far better than Driller Killer.
Okay.
And just look up the poster and you'll immediately go, I'm watching that tonight.
Okay. I'll have to look it up later.
Yes.
All right, man. That's awesome. I watched a film from 98 called Fallen with Denzel Washington.
All right.
This is a supernatural thriller where Denzel's a cop, like a detective, on a murder case or something, and he gets his guy, and apparently like the devil was possessing the dude. And the devil jumps between bodies. If somebody touches the body, it transfers to a different body. So this devil is like trying to get Denzel. It sounds pretty dumb, but I actually liked it a lot. Oh my god!
Is on my
See,
side.
I could have used a little less of that.
Really?
Yeah, but because like every demon body sings it.
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
how you
come on.
identify the demon.
I know, but I know who the demon is.
Well, that's
I guess Denzel doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. It's a unique premise. I'll definitely say that.
Right.
And it's a cool idea. There's some bullshit crap in it, of course. And but you get Elias Koteas and Donald Sutherland as a pissed off captain and
Right.
stuff. So that's good.
John Goodman.
John Goodman as his partner. Excellent.
That's right.
I thought the ending kind of broke their rules.
Okay.
But then it turned out they didn't. I was like, oh, thank God.
That was probably the first like massive unreliable narrator thing I ever saw.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a narrator in it.
Right.
Yeah, so Fallen, everybody. Check it out if you want to see demons touching people.
Yes. and full disclosure, I mean, like, despite your misgivings, I kind of love that movie.
Okay.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, I said I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, yeah, Fallen. Check it out, dude.
Right.
All right, so now let's talk about Her, Dave. Mm-hmm. Why don't you give everyone a synopsis?
Yes. This is Spike Jonze's sci-fi romance, where in the not-too-distant future, this introverted, recently divorced man develops a relationship with his online assistant, an AI-powered operating system. And it also takes place in a future society where this sort of thing is encouraged and is completely acceptable, which, even though the clothing and setting sort of looks like what we're used to, it has an otherworldly quality. And like some of the best science fiction, it traffics in ideas, and despite all the futuristic elements, the heart of the story is the humanity of the characters. I have a feeling this discussion is probably going to go places, so we'll get started.
Go places. Definitely will, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this was one of my picks. I threw it on our schedule, everybody, just because I think it's a pretty great movie. It's a unique take on what romance is, and I like sci-fi films a lot, so this one kind of hit me where I like it. I think it won the Best Writing Oscar also.
Best Original Screenplay,
which is
yes.
my favorite Oscar to win.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's partly why I like it. But I also like Spike Jonze a lot. For people who don't know, he got his start making like skateboard videos and stuff in the early 90s. One of them was called Video Days back then, and it kind of created the template for what every skate video would be from then on, which is quite awesome. And then he directed tons of music videos in the 90s, like every band you've ever heard of in the 90s. He did their videos, Beastie Boys and Weezer and everybody. And And he started making movies. And I love it because, I was a skater boy, Dave. And
Yes.
it's cool to see my own people do things like this. I'm a
Nice.
movie skater boy, and so is he.
Yes, of course.
And I think that Video Days part, there's Jason Lee has a part in that, and that's kind of how he broke into acting. I think Kevin Smith watched the skate video and was like, that guy's awesome.
So Jason Lee was a skater?
Yeah, he was a pro skater.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
and
Wow.
he's in Video Days. He and Mark Gonzalez have awesome parts in that.
Okay.
Like, awesome stuff. So I just like Spike Jonze, and I like the stuff he's done a lot.
Yes.
And I thought this would be a really fun movie to talk about, not only because of that kind of thing, but the ideas it presents, I think, are something we can really bite into.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially in our current environment, because I think that everything this movie posited has completely come true.
Pretty much, right?
I mean, the vision Spike Jonze had of like a future 10 years down the road was just precisely what happened.
Yep. There's shots of people walking down the street just with their earbud in,
Yes,
ignoring everyone around them.
that's right.
And I'm sure that was happening some in 2013.
Yeah.
But today, I mean, I can't even drive my car with my son sitting next to me and have a conversation because he's got earbuds in. I mean, I can
know.
make him take them out, but
Well, sure, because you're the parent and you can actually
Yeah.
tell him to do so. But I mean, when you're by yourself, are your earbuds in all
No.
the time?
no,
You're not.
mine aren't.
Okay.
Are yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
You mean like at work or at home or like?
When I'm at the grocery store, when
Okay.
I'm walking the dog, when
Yeah.
I'm doing anything by myself that I'm not like otherwise engaged,
See,
like watching a movie or reading a book or something.
The thing is, I've actively decided to not do that.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to become heard. Like I was like, I'm not doing this.
Well-
I used to do it.
Yeah.
At the grocery store, everywhere. I'll do it at the gym, or sometimes if I'm walking, I'll do that. But sometimes I take them out while walking because I want to take in the nature I'm trying to get into, trying
Yeah.
to escape the technology for a moment. But I don't always do that. Sometimes they're in.
Wow. Well, okay. So
A lot of times they're in.
a couple months ago, I hiked a mountain with listening to a podcast about the making of South Park bigger, longer, and
Yeah,
uncut.
right?
I should have been like just me and the rocks, but
Well, I'm sure you had moments where you weren't listening to them.
I had to at some point because
Yeah.
it took concentration and I was like gassed completely, and I had to. Yeah, I just shut. I'm like, you guys need to shut up now.
Right, and I'm not saying it's all bad.
Right.
Like I participate in it too.
Yeah.
But it is something that's pointed out in this film, and it's glaringly obvious that the world is very different
Of course.
from a world without this stuff.
Yes. I mean, and I think another thing this movie proves is that the people in Silicon Valley who claim to be visionaries and that they're building the future, that they're completely full of shit. Because this future utopia that they claim was all they're doing was envisioned by Spike Jonze more than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. They stole it.
They just completely stole it. They just like full on ripped it right from him. And that they could build it, I guess, build it. They didn't build shit, but it's this open AI and Gemini thing were like invented based on like what he had laid down previously. Mm-hmm. And the movie, as much as I loved it, it stirred up so many negative emotions in me,
Yeah,
because I have very strong feelings about this stuff.
I know, and I thought it'd be awesome. So, but not only that, like the romance is really good in it. I think
Yes.
it feels real and legitimate, and that's a big aspect of the movie. Is it real? They
I know.
question that. Is this real emotions we're feeling, or is this even a real relationship?
Oh, of course.
And how do we define that?
Yes. And everybody, I will not spend the entire show sermonizing about the dangers of AI, but it's just, it's going to come out at some point, I'm sure.
That's all right, because I mean, you could break your heart. I mean, you could get Terminated. There's lots of options for you.
Sure.
With AI.
That's true. I mean, it does try to simulate human intelligence, which is a vast experience.
Yeah. That's what makes this so fascinating.
Of course.
So, you want to get into it?
Let's get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie starts with a real tight close-up of Joaquin Phoenix. And in this movie, he's got like this really tight, thick mustache.
Yeah, it's almost like a mustache-based society that they live in, too, because Chris Pratt's got it as well.
Yes. Okay, I guess before we get into the story, like the fashion and everything is great,
man,
too.
Yeah.
Like everyone's wearing tucked-in shirts, but like their pants are hiked up near their nipples almost.
They are, yeah.
And there's no belts.
It's a weird cut.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's quite strange. Like, it looks like business casual almost sometimes.
Right.
But it's very strange, and it gives it that slight future look.
Yeah. Did you notice how little blue there was?
There is, like, hardly any blue in this. The movie is almost all warm tones.
Right.
Like, Joaquin's always wearing, like, a reddish, like a salmon shirt.
Yes.
All the walls are that kind of tone. Everything is. Like,
Yeah, his shirts either are like that graph paper pattern, or it's like
Yeah.
a solid color like burnt orange or reddish, or, and then khakis all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, he... I found out, like, I kind of noticed that absence of blue for a while, and then I looked it up and found out that Hoyte van Hoytema made the conscious choice to keep that out of there. Because he wanted to, like, he thought that it was too associated with science fiction, and he wanted to give all the other colors their own identity, which I didn't quite understand what he was going for, but I still, it definitely is an aesthetic.
I guess I can believe that. Like, I don't see many movies with, like, a reddish tone to it, right? You see lots of greens,
Right.
blues, sepias and stuff.
Yes.
But not like this pink. It's a pink.
Oh, yeah, right, I know, yeah. And then, like, off in the distance, there'll be kind of like this haze that looks like, I don't know, it looks artificial and science fiction-like, but it doesn't look CGI.
Right. Well, I know in, like, because it takes place in L.A. It's
Yes.
like a future L.A., So there's, like, a lot of big skyscrapers that aren't there now.
Right.
And I think they took footage from Hong Kong and put them into the film.
Yes.
So it makes it just seem unnatural because
Right.
these buildings don't belong in L.A., but they're in L.A.
Yeah, when they say they're in L.A. the first time you see it, you're like, "What? That's not what Los Angeles skyline
Right.
looks
This
like."
is like pre-Blade Runner L.A.
Yeah, right.
Which pretty sure it fits into that universe,
It
man.
does.
There's going to be simulants and everything running around.
I know, and you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, Roy Batty's going to chime in on your earbud, and you're going to be fucked.
If he gives me the gorgeous Tears and Rain speech, then I'm fine with it. But
What if
otherwise,
Scarlett
not.
Johansson gave that speech?
Also,
I think it'd be
acceptable.
good.
Yeah,
It would work.
I'll take it.
So we get into the movie, and it's the close-up of his face, and he's giving a speech. Like, he's talking to someone.
Right.
Like, someone he loves, and he's reciting all this beautiful poetry about how you've made my life better, and I'm complete because of you, and that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, man, he's really, like, having this heartfelt conversation with someone he loves.
Very passionate man.
And you're like, wow, this is great. And then over the course of a minute while he's talking to the camera, he says something about, and we've been together for 50 years. And you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
That doesn't check out. What's going on here? And it's revealed that he's writing letters for other people. He works
Yeah.
at a company. Someone says, hey, write these letters for me. And you write them. That's it.
Right.
Beautifulhandwrittenletters.com is what it's called.
Yes. And it's because people in this society can't really express feelings of their own very often, so possibly due to looking at screens all day. And so they have to have this company that does it for them. And there's some accounts there that have been with them for a long time.
Yeah, he reveals he's been writing letters for one couple for 8 years.
Yes.
And he just makes up things because he's seen their pictures over the years, and it's almost as if he knows them a little bit, you
Right.
know? Like, he doesn't really know them. And, I mean, I guess that's also what the whole movie is about, right? Like, real connection and actually knowing people.
Right.
That kind of stuff. Loneliness is a huge theme in this movie.
And this whole thing of like a completely futuristic society has like had this one holdover, which is letter writing.
Yeah, kind of neat,
Yeah,
I think.
it's pretty cool.
I know you like it,
Yeah,
right?
I do.
Letter writing is pretty sweet.
Yes.
It's a lost art. I can't even do it anymore. Like, I can't... My cursive is so bad now.
I mean, yeah, my handwriting like is just beyond any.
It's just
I can't
always
even read
bad.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been bad for my whole life, but now it's like ungodly.
So you can't do calligraphy or anything like that.
Not freehand. If I sat down for an activity like I took up calligraphy,
stencils.
yes,
I couldn't do it either, Dave. Don't worry. I'm just teasing.
of course. But like, yeah, but you're right about letter writing though, because I mean, there is Emily Dickinson's correspondence is considered like great literature. Mm-hmm. I mean, the letters she wrote to her friends you just read it, and you're like, oh my Lord, you know?
Right. And I mean, that's something like letter writing is something we used to do back in the day.
Yes.
Instead of AI, right?
Yes.
I guess it's still a form of communication. It's
Yeah.
it's just not the same as this.
Right. It's not as heartfelt or sincere.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right.
So he's at his job, and we kind of see him doing it, and he seems a little unhappy at this place as the camera kind of pans out. And we see him walking home, and he's got his earbud in, and he's in the elevator. He wants to listen to melancholy music. So that gives you a little insight into how he's feeling, right?
Right. He like makes an actual plan to listen to something sad.
He's sad as get out. You know, I mean, he's crazy sad. And he's walking around town, and you see everyone with the AIs in their ear and stuff. And no one's talking to anyone. Everyone's just either on their phone or talking to their earpiece. That's it. And they're just, no one's even walking together. Everyone's just single walking through the streets. It's kind of interesting to see because there's not even a crowd. There's a good amount of people, but everyone is separate and isolated. Yeah, I know. They've all like social distanced, like, you know. Yes, and it's not because of some virus. That's for sure. Maybe a computer virus.
Well, it could be that. But yeah, they're like, it's a crowded. It's L.A. It's 20 million people, but everybody has like, you know, some distance between them. Yeah, dude. So it like and it works on two levels, of course. You know, we've distanced ourselves from each other, but also there's no couples. Yeah. It just they really don't exist. I mean, people date and everything, but like everybody is just on their own and they don't talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we really get a sense of who this guy is and the environment he's living in, right? We continue that at his house, too. We see him at night. He's laying in bed alone, and he, like, calls up some phone sex internet place and listens to a bunch of people, and he's like, all right, message this lady, you know? And they have phone sex, like, while he's in bed. He's just that lonely. He's not even willing to date, right? He's just like, hey, push the button, and let's do this. And he is recently divorced. Yes, we find that out. Yes. Right. And yeah, when he does decide to select the one lady, it's Kristen Wiig's voice. Oh, is it? That's great. Yeah. And everything's going great for a moment. Like, they're having phone sex. And it's all, you know, very, very sexy. Right. Until it turns out she's into some pretty weird shit. In fact, one of them is like there's a dead cat. Yeah. Like in her fantasy, there's a dead cat near the bed, and she wants him to strangle her with it. Yes. I've never heard that before in any of my escapades. No, but, me neither. I'm sure it's out there. Yes. But yeah, he reluctantly goes along with it, and he's not enjoying it, but he wants to like make her happy, it seems like. Yeah, because he wants to be polite. He's a polite man. So I guess I'll just like sit here and he doesn't he doesn't like confrontation, this guy. Right. Not at all. But she loves it, and she's like finished and then hangs up right away. Yes. And he's just kind of left high and dry, like, oh man, what the hell is that? Right. It's funny. It's a funny scene. It's a really funny scene. It's funny, and it like really gets the point across of what we're getting into here. Yeah, what kind of society they've built. Mm-hmm. That not only is it just, okay, so people listen to podcasts or they got their music in all the time. No, it's just that earpiece is the whole world. Yeah. Like everything you could want. Right. And he's even communicating with a real person there. Yes. And it's not even something he wants, really. That's like true. In the end, it was just like an empty exchange, right? Right. And he's laying there, and you just see how lonely he really is, because that was all for naught, you know. Yeah, he's just true. This lady who got strangled by a fake cat just left him. You know, these women keep leaving him. That's true. Yes, right. They take what they need, and then that's that. So the next day, he finds a solution. Right. He doesn't know that, but he sees an ad for this new operating system called OS1, which is like the ultimate AI. It'll solve all the world's problems and stuff. So, and it's weird that in this world, they call it like, okay, so in today's real world, people say things like my AI, like on your phone or whatever. Like, I'm going to ask my AI, something like that. In this, they say my OS. So I guess it's the same idea, but they call it their operating system. Right. And I remember when the trailer first came out, they didn't establish that. And there's one moment where Amy Adams goes, oh, you're dating an OS? Yeah. And like that was in the trailer. Mm-hmm. They hadn't even like made... Well, I don't think everybody watching the commercial knew that OS stood for operating system. Oh, I highly doubt it. Yeah. Right. So for her to just ask that question with no other context, it was kind of messed up. Trailers are not, obviously, they're usually just made by another company.
Right.
But it was weird that they cherry-picked that particular line.
I guess it's also intriguing if you don't know what OS means. You're like, oh, well, what does that mean? What's
Well, that's
he dating?
true. Yeah.
Who's he dating?
Right.
Who's this OS guy? I got to find out about him.
Yeah, that could have been, maybe that was part of the
He
draw.
sounds swell.
Yes. But yeah, this thing is, it's a companion for you, and it kind of does everything. It manages your emails, it goes through your hard drive and rearranges things
Yep.
and gets rid of stuff you don't need, and then it gives you tips on how to live. And because it's an AI, it's artificial intelligence, and it learns as it goes. It's an entity beyond computing, because the whole point of computing is that it's logical and can only function with input and commands. And there's a place for computing in our world. It's an excellent tool that makes our lives easier, but the reason it's useful is because you can depend on its accuracy. AI starts to make mistakes after a while, and that's the inherent flaw in it. And that's what this movie posits as well.
Yeah. So when he sets this thing up, they ask him some questions, and he chooses he wants a female voice. And after a few minutes of doing that, Scarlett Johansson's voice pops up. Hey, how you doing?
Right.
It turns out her name is Samantha, and he thinks it's a little weird how natural she sounds and stuff. And she's funny and everything. It's fun, flirty Scarlett Johansson, right? That's what we're getting here.
Right.
They seem to be hitting it off in this, they're making fast friends, you can tell. They have some kind of connection growing here.
Right. And depending on who's watching the movie, in my case, every time I feel like any emotion of any kind, even from the start when Samantha comes in, even if I'm getting wrapped up in the story, I'm reminded that she's not real. and it just, I can't not realize that.
And that's the hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially for Theodore. That's Joaquin Phoenix's character,
Yes.
Theodore, everybody. He can't tell the difference, or he doesn't think about it.
Right.
I mean, he does later in the film. That becomes a huge thing.
Of course.
But right here, he's just kind of smitten by how realistic this is.
Yes.
And just kind of rolls with it. So, yeah, they hit it off, and she cleans up his emails, saves some old letters, that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
We see a few days pass, time passes, he's playing video games with her and stuff.
Yeah.
He's playing this weird 3D VR game. It's an AR game in his living room where he controls it with his hands and stuff. It's kind of cool. He's this little space guy running around.
Yes.
But then he meets this little alien that gets real crude with him, which I thought is hilarious. This little cute little blue alien guy starts calling him a fucking shithead fuckface and stuff like that.
Okay, this way, pussy.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
That was Spike Jonze. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
He played
Wow.
the alien.
Man, that's great. Did you read about the other production notes? How I guess when they were shooting it, Samantha Morton played Samantha.
Yeah. She was there every day on set,
Yes.
doing the voices and the performance, and then during the editing, Spike Jonze just felt like it didn't work.
Right.
And then they got Scarlett Johansson.
And I never got to hear, none of us probably got to hear Samantha Morton's work. I'm sure it was great because she's great.
Yeah.
But I have to say that, Scarlett Johansson, to be able to give this kind of performance acting against nothing.
Yeah.
Because she had to do it completely post-production. I know that the editing comes into play with this because they can chop it up the way they need it to, but it is seamless.
I agree.
Stuff with Joaquin Phoenix is phenomenal, and even other characters in the movie. She really communicates and gives a full, rounded performance, and she's just a voice.
Yeah. It's amazing work, isn't
Right.
it? I don't know how they did the re-recording, if she was just alone, or if they had Joaquin come back, read with her, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, man, you hit it right on the head. It is
Right.
amazing that they got this.
Yes.
After she just, Samantha Morton was there, present, right? She had a real connection with real people,
Man,
right, Dave?
I know.
And
I couldn't. Every time I even read stuff behind the scenes, I couldn't get AI crap out of my mind. It was it's ever present. Yes.
unfortunately, the original voiceover work is lost apparently, or it's buried away somewhere.
It's in Spike Jonze's office in the bottom drawer.
Yeah, it's somewhere over there, and it's gone. And I read something about what Samantha Morton said about it, and it's just she doesn't think it was like malicious or they
Sure.
planned this the whole time. Well, let's wait till Scarlett's free and then we'll boot her.
Yes,
You know, it wasn't
yes.
anything like that. But it sucks because she didn't attend the premiere.
I know.
Like she didn't get to do any of that stuff. You know,
Right.
and this was a huge movie. Like it was a big hit.
Of
like,
course.
it didn't make like $1 billion, but it was a big hit.
Yeah, it was a financial success, and it won Oscars.
Yeah, and people loved it.
Right.
Like it was just all around. Everybody liked this movie.
Yes.
So, yeah, that must suck to miss out on that.
That would be devastating.
So yeah, I mean, and while they're playing this video game, Samantha gets an email from like a blind date thing or something about he gets set up on a blind date.
Yeah, I
right?
think it was some of his other friends set him up with someone they knew.
Yeah, so she sees this and is like teasing him about like how he doesn't date and stuff like that, and he needs to go out and it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So she sends an email and sets it up, right? She's being like pushy and teasing him and stuff, like a friendly thing.
Yeah.
And he likes it. He likes their relationship. So he gets set up on a date with Olivia Wilde.
Right.
We get there in a little bit, but we meet up with Amy Adams at some point, right? Like in the
I think
elevator.
it's between the date and this. Yeah.
So I guess they work together or they were college friends and they live in the same building. There's something like that.
They've known each other a long time, and they were an item a long time ago, and they did know each other from school. And they're both writers, and Amy Adams' character, Amy, used to kind of run ideas past Theodore, and he would, he was her unofficial editor sometimes, and she'd give him pointers on his stuff, and they've had a really positive relationship, and they're kind of best friends.
Yeah. And Amy's married to some guy named Charles, who this guy just sucks, man.
This fucking zero, dude.
I hate this guy.
I know.
He is so like one track, like all about himself.
Uh-huh.
And you can tell he doesn't give Amy anything she needs.
Ugh.
That's for sure.
And the whole thing with the smoothie about you gotta make sure that the fruit isn't pulverized. Otherwise, it's just sugar.
Yeah, you lose all the fiber. And that's
dude.
what your body needs.
Get the fuck.
It's funny because Amy looks at him like, Charles, shut up.
Shut up.
Like while
Right.
he's talking to Joaquin. Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like he goes over to their house and she's going to show them her documentary footage that she has.
Yeah.
And it's just footage of her mom sleeping. And that's it.
Right.
And they don't get it. And it kind of hurts her feelings. Which, man, it is kind of lame,
I
Amy.
mean,
like
yeah,
you didn't
Amy-
even explain what you're going for either.
I
Like
know.
you just kind of showed us someone sleeping. That was it.
I've seen documentaries like that's trying to be a document. You know, like the whole point of the documentary is that, like, no, I'm just going to show you exactly what I shot, and I'm not going to, do any cuts. So it's a true work of this is journalism.
She's making Empire,
yes.
Andy Warhol's masterpiece.
precisely, yes.
Yeah.
But it's just not very exciting.
It's not. And Charles is even like, she's never even shown me this before. Like, she's going to show him, but not me. I'm sitting in,
Right.
He just butts in. What an asshole.
I know. And it's weird. He's one of these assholes, too, who's not immediately, you don't kind of immediately go, oh my God, that guy's really a
it's
dick.
not too obvious.
Right. He's just kind of an arrogant man.
If you spend more than 5 minutes with him, you can be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh,
yeah.
this guy.
this
yeah.
isn't my speed.
Right.
No.
He's a bit much.
Yeah. So while he's there, though, he gets an email about his divorce papers need to be signed.
Yes.
So he leaves and he has a conversation with Samantha about it. Like, she asks like, "What's going on?" And he reveals, but he and his ex-wife, they were like best friends growing up, and we find out all about his past. And as he's talking about all this, we get like shots of him and Rooney Mara and their relationship throughout the years and stuff. And
Right.
it's pretty sweet, like, to see it. This is a good, loving relationship. And,
Yeah.
they started young. They grew up together, went through every trial and tribulation you can as a couple. And, it's sweet to see it.
Yeah, I like him talking about it, and then there's about a minute of footage of Rooney Mara and Joaquin Phoenix like frolicking together,
Yeah.
rolling around in the wheat fields and stuff, and like chasing each other. And
Yeah.
at one point, some of the audio is distorted a little bit, so or it's kind of just pushed down so you can hear his, him telling his
Yeah.
story. But like she's like saying things like, you're so cute, I'm gonna kill you, that kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
really cool couple stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And there's one shot I really like where they're in some like parking garage or something, and they both have traffic cones on their head.
That's cool.
And they're like
yeah.
lancing it towards each other.
That
like,
is-
they're fighting with these cones.
Man,
it's pretty cool.
that's
I'm like,
really
man,
good.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would do that.
Uh-huh.
But he's kind of confiding in Samantha here about this, like how we had this great relationship, and then now we don't, and I haven't signed the papers because I don't want to let her go. And she tries to make him feel better about things. And oh man, the ghost is back, Dave.
Jesus, I knew we would have to contend with it again.
Let me take care of the ghost.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
Maybe it
excellent.
was an AI.
Gee, of course, it's every time something bad happens in my life, that's what I'm going to say.
It's the OS.
Yes.
But like, we've seen them be kind of like friendly and flirty, right? Like,
Yeah.
The two of them. But now this is like deeper. They're having like it's almost like a therapy session. Like they're talking to each other about like important things, like
Yes.
really deep, important feelings they're having.
Yeah, and he even like comes down. Well, oh God, you're so nosy, that kind of thing. And and she's like, so what? And so she's obviously learning how to not to just. She pries into stuff because that's how she learns stuff. But now she understands that maybe that's not what a human is supposed to do, but she doesn't care. And she knows even on that level that like, well, so what? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she's learning confrontation and also friendly back and forth and banter.
Right. And there's some people that are like this. I've known people like this.
Yeah, of course.
And it works for them somehow.
Yeah.
And then other people, if they were doing the same thing and prying and being like, well, so what? Like, no, it would come off totally different.
It's
strange.
It's weird that like depending on the person, you'll put up with it.
Yeah. So I guess he likes her enough to put up with this.
Right.
And I keep saying it's like flirty because it kind of is, right?
Yeah, from the start it
And he
is.
likes that because he's a lonely guy, and there's this amazing woman, I guess, quote unquote amazing woman, like this voice that is interacting with him that feels like a real amazing woman.
Yeah.
He's just letting it happen to him.
Well, and he chose a female voice. So I think he was like,
Yeah.
either consciously or subconsciously, he wanted a female companion.
Right. Yeah.
And the first thing he does is flirt with her. Because, that's because you would,
That's
I
what
guess.
I would do, I guess,
yeah.
So like the next scene after this is them out on a date almost, right? He has his like cell phone in his pocket so she can look at the world through his camera.
Yeah, he's even got like a safety pin in all the like the front pockets of his shirts.
Yeah.
That props up the phone so that the camera can see out of the pocket.
Yeah. And it's this cool little phone. I
It's
wish
a-
I had this
know.
phone.
It would look futuristic and sleek looking today, like this design. And this was a
Yeah.
2013 version of like a futuristic phone. I thought that looks awesome.
Right, and it has like that folding screen that we
Yes.
have now in some phones. Like,
Right.
Except it's small and will fit in my pocket and won't fucking bother me.
That's right.
God, phones are too freaking huge,
I
man.
know. I've got this gigantic brick now too, and
We're going back to the 80s,
I
Dave.
know.
That's what I want, a Gordon Gekko touchscreen.
that's right.
Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like they're out on a date.
I know.
It's not an official date, but he's taking her out to like, I guess they're at the pier.
Yeah, like
they're at like
the
a
boardwalk,
carnival.
right? And he's walking around and he's just talking to her. And I remember seeing this in the commercial, wondering, I wonder if everybody thinks he's weird. Than I found out in the movie, no, a lot of people do this.
Yeah.
He's one of many who are doing kind of the same thing. And he's just walking down the street with his hands in his pockets and looking at all the carnival stuff. And she can see what he sees, and he's like. She tells him to like, okay, spin around for me and stuff like that, so I
Yeah.
can see all this. And
Yeah.
then
Close your eyes.
Close your
Go
eyes.
that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Walk 10 seconds.
Right.
Sneeze. Oh yeah, do
Yes.
this weird stuff.
And then she leads him over to like get a slice.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, yeah, one please,
Yeah.
and a soda.
Yeah. And there's one point where they're like people watching too.
Yeah.
Like some other guy. I guess is it a guy that's like dancing or doing something? They're like out on a date. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But like they're doing the people watching, and he like is saying things about the people, and he's very perceptive.
Yeah.
Like we saw him doing the letter writing for his job. Like he can read people pretty well, which I
Right.
think's pretty ironic because he doesn't know what he wants, and he doesn't know. He kind of knows what's wrong with them,
Yeah.
but he can't deal with it. He has to have like other people to sound off of, or to be there to take care of him almost. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm sure that's how his ex-wife felt, and that's what Samantha's filling in that role right now.
That's
like,
true.
And he kind of grows throughout the movie and learns that, but like he knows what everyone else's needs are, but he can't really face his own, which is really interesting.
I know, and that is kind of that's close to some of the criticisms he receives from Rooney Mara later on.
Yeah.
Which is, essentially that he simply can't exist in the world. He's almost like a brain in a jar.
Yeah.
And that's just like, there's a lot of people like that.
He's
And-
almost an OS himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to do with like maybe over-reliance on technology. The people existed like that in the 70s. I mean,
Yeah.
there's plenty of people who just want to keep to themselves, either because they're afraid of revealing too much about themselves and they're afraid of rejection, which is totally natural.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're really fanatical about it.
Yeah.
And when you get to know them, you're like, you see that they're so layered and so interesting, and you're like, why didn't you want this to come out?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Right.
And at this moment, she also reveals some things about herself that she is like kind of embarrassed to say.
Of course.
Like, so Samantha has been getting these like really personal and embarrassing feelings in her.
Yes.
And Joaquin pressures her like, hey, no, tell me. I want to know. Tell
Right.
me. Like, don't worry. Don't be embarrassed. And she says like she's been fantasizing. She wanted to be like, she was next to him, like walking down the boardwalk with
Yes.
him. And she had an itch on her back and he scratched it and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so like she reveals, she says, I'm becoming much more than they programmed.
Right.
Which I think it sounds like she's kind of shocked by it also. Like, if I'm programmed to do these things, then why am I feeling and learning this stuff I wasn't supposed to?
Yeah, she probably didn't know that it was going to happen this quickly.
Yeah.
Because her evolving so fast probably wasn't even part of what the programming told her.
Yeah.
And she wasn't prepared for learning this quickly.
Yeah. So, after this fun date they have, we get to see Joaquin's date with Olivia Wilde.
Right. And
The
Olivia
blind date.
Wilde is credited as blind date.
Yeah.
You never know her name. And that's kind of like key, because that's what Theodore's all about. He, do you think that before the date went down, he already had in mind that this was going to be a one-time thing, and he was just hoping to get some sex, and that was that?
Well, that's kind of what he reveals later. I don't think that would be the only thing he wanted, but if it was a good connection,
Yeah.
maybe something would happen. But I think that was the main drive of the date.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna go and get laid.
Right.
The date seems to be going really well actually for a while.
Yeah.
Like they hit it off. They're laughing and talking and drinking and stuff, and they end up making out
Right.
at one point, and then Olivia Wilde stops kissing him and says something about like, you're not just gonna fuck me and leave, right? Like everyone else.
Right.
I need to know this is gonna go somewhere. And then he's kind of caught off guard by it, and is like,
Yeah, he does
I
not
don't know.
answer
Yeah.
nearly fast enough, and
Right.
that's all she needed to hear.
So then she's like, what? And,
Uh-huh.
And then I think, is he the one who says maybe we should just go home or something? Or does she do that?
I think she said, like, she when she realizes he's not gonna, like, that was his intention.
Yeah.
That he was gonna get some and then never call her again. She just walks.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go home.
I think he does say like maybe we should call it a night also.
Yeah.
Like at some point.
Could
So
be, yeah.
She can't even call off the date. He did it, and now she's mad.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's man.
I'll tell you what though, like she was asking for it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like if you stop in the middle of making out to do this to him, don't be surprised when it goes that way.
Well, okay, so she puts her hand down his pants, like during the makeout. Like that's where it's going. It's like
Yeah.
they're gonna have sex in public, or at least she's gonna, diddle him a bit. And that's when she stops and goes, "Now wait a second. Now let's agree to some terms here."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I don't think in that moment anyone, no matter what your intentions were, would I have been able to answer, "Oh no, this
Yeah.
is going to be a fulfilling relationship for the two of
Exactly.
us." I
How
don't know.
can anyone be thinking clearly then?
Right.
Right?
I mean,
your animal instinct has taken over at that
Completely,
point,
yes.
and they're fueled up on alcohol.
Yes.
So of course, like, you can't have a real conversation in the middle of this.
Right. It's why whenever you're about to have sex or having sex, like, it's just, you can't just have a conversation.
You can't be like, wait a minute.
I know, right?
What'd you think about the end of Dexter? That will determine where this goes.
Or like even during the act, actually asking that question. You can't do it.
Nope,
No.
can't do it. So I do not feel bad for her, actually. I'm like, why did you do this?
I didn't either. Also because I sensed where it was going and where it wasn't going to go.
Yeah.
And like as the audience, we just saw him make a connection with his computer. So we're like, and we know, that the movie is about that. So it's kind of like, let's go to there. And I understand this is a device to propel that forward, which it does.
Yeah, that's where we go next.
Yes.
He goes home and she asks him about the date. How'd
Samantha
it go?
does, yes.
Yeah, Samantha asks him. And he tells her kind of how it went. And he does say here, like, he kind of just wanted to have sex because he's lonely.
That's right. I forgot he said that. Yes.
He says maybe that would have filled the tiny hole in my heart.
Right.
Which, man, this guy is a poet, man.
He is. Yes.
Yeah. And he says something else. Sometimes I feel I've felt everything I'm ever going to feel, just lesser versions of what I've already felt. And that is kind of a shocking statement to think about, because
Of course.
Is there no more new experiences once you hit a certain point in life? Like, is that it? You kind of relive what has happened to you in different forms and in lesser forms? Personally, I don't think that's true, but I mean,
Right.
to some extent it can be.
Well, I guess it's kind of like trying to think of how many more songs can be written. Like, how many more word combinations and melodies are there?
Yeah.
And I guess it's infinite, because it keeps happening. So
Yeah.
we're going to continue feeling feelings, and they're all going to be different.
They will. So you haven't felt everything you're going to feel, Theodore. You're good.
That's right.
You're good, man.
Right.
You're just lonely and sad right now.
Right.
Because you blew it with Olivia Wilde.
Uh-huh. Yes.
So she kind of Sam comforts him here, and she says, at least your feelings are real, kind of putting herself down like, I'm just an OS. I don't have real feelings. And then she kind of admits how, like, she's excited to have feelings, but also annoyed by them, and proud of having them, but then she's confused because are these just programs I'm supposed to feel? And then that makes her angry. And then she's angry about being angry. And like just all these very complicated things she's confused about. So she confides in him in this moment about all the stuff that's bothering her. And Joaquin says to her that she feels real to him. And that kind of takes the evening in a different direction.
Yes, it does. And I have to say that, okay, obviously everybody, this is the part where they have sex, quote unquote, because she starts asking him about, like, what it would be like. And he starts to describe in romantic and sexy detail what he would do to her.
Yeah.
And it's a great scene. And eventually you fade away from Joaquin Phoenix and it's just a black screen. And all you hear is the two of them breathing heavy and writhing in ecstatic orgasmic pleasure. And it goes on for a while.
Yeah.
Like every time you think it's going to end, no, they just keep going. And she's like yelling about how amazing this is. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. This is what that's like. And she's actually feeling sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
Somehow, even though she lives inside a computer and has no body.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. It is. It's a fascinating thing to experience.
Yeah. She's learning all these human feelings and emotions throughout the movie so far, right? But now she's like feeling the ultimate human emotion.
Yeah.
The ultimate human experience, the ultimate emotional connection you can have with another person.
Yeah.
It all culminates into this incredible sexual experience that I don't think she was prepared for either. And it is great how it leads into it, too, because he kind of says that, like, you feel real to me, and he says something about how he wishes he was here so he could, like, hold her.
Yes.
And she kind of waits a beat and then says, well, how would you touch me? Like, she's, like, going in.
I
It's
know.
like, wait, I'm a robot.
Uh-huh.
Let's go down this path and see what happens.
Right.
Dude,
I mean,
the scene is it's structured perfectly.
Yeah, it is.
And I do love how it cuts to the black, because it's almost like they're both in the void, like she is. Like, he's with her in her world.
Right.
Like the physical doesn't even matter. It's
Yeah.
just empty in this moment.
That's true. He has now become part of whatever entity she is.
Yeah, and I think it kind of shows the LA skyline at one point too. It's a really great shot. It's one of my favorite in the movie. It's a big reason I wanted to talk about this.
Oh, yeah,
I just
yeah.
love the scene.
Right. No, it's fantastic. And the next morning, he's walking around his apartment, and he sits down at his computer, and he's kind of like... she catches him saying non-committal man things. Like she starts to talk, and he doesn't cut her off, but it's like it's his turn to talk. Well, I'm not really looking for anything, she's like, well, that's not what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I was talking about myself. And he's like, oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
So he's already wanting to get out of this because it's just a natural instinct for some people to do.
And she calls him out on it immediately too. Like, well, you're being a selfish asshole. Like, I didn't think that's what the conversation was.
Yes.
Yeah. I was talking. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
And he realizes what he's doing immediately too, because he's not an asshole.
He's not a bad guy.
He's not. He just realizes, oh crap, I'm doing this thing that I know I do, and
Yes.
I hate that I do it.
Yes.
And she told me I was doing it, so I'm going to stop doing it.
Which I guess in some ways, like, depending on the person that you're with, I mean, if there's love and trust there, then maybe they would call you out on it.
Yeah.
But maybe they wouldn't if they're like you. And with a machine, it's going to do it because they don't have that interlocutor.
So you don't think she has that? You don't think she would?
Not at the present time.
Okay.
Like right now, she's just able to okay, I can just say anything I want to this guy because it's not real. But like as things progress, then she'll develop more human instincts, which keep you from saying things that you wouldn't want said.
Right. Yeah. So I like how they have that awkward post-sex morning conversation. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it is.
And they both agree we're not a couple or anything. Like it was just what it was, and
Right.
it goes where it goes.
Right.
Just kind of mature for them to do.
Sure.
But they do go on another date to the beach or something. I think it's that day.
It is that day, yes.
And she's seeing the beach, and they have some conversation about people and how if you never saw them before, what would you think about them? This just massive gangly flesh.
I know,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, just observing the human form and how weird it is.
I thought it was a great insight. It's wow, yeah, we're just used to it because that's what we are and that's
Yes.
what we see. But what would an alien think? Oh man, look at those idiots.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I love about a lot of science fiction movies is when aliens who look ghoulish to us, they look at us and they just think we're so hideous.
Right, yeah. But there's a joke here where she says something about having your asshole in your armpit, which I thought is excellent. And then she
Yes.
draws a picture of someone having anal sex
I know.
with an armpit.
And here's how rotten my mind is. I couldn't even enjoy the anal sex armpit joke because I'm reminded that if someone put that into some stupid chat bot today, that's what would come back. Oh, give me
man.
Hey AI, show me a anal sex in the armpit, and the
Dude.
drawing that she did would be the output.
You're not wrong, man. It's God,
Yeah.
this movie was just way ahead of its
It was
time.
really prescient,
dude. Yeah, so I think we catch up with Amy Adams at this point.
We do, yes.
And he reveals he's been, really happy seeing this girl. He doesn't reveal it's an OS, not at this moment, but he's just real happy. But then we find out Amy Adams is not. She's
Right.
getting divorced from Charles.
Yes. I love that Amy dropped Charles early on, we don't have to deal with this asshole very long.
Right.
And man, Amy Adams, both her character and she's it's Amy Adams. She's a catch.
She's the best.
Right. And to know that this fucking drip had married that she married this guy
8
just
years.
Oh man. She lost 8 years of her life with this total fucking,
This wet towel.
Exactly. This guy sucks.
And she says it was just the stupidest argument, the most petty thing that caused it. which is so true, isn't it?
That's how it starts usually.
Things just build up, and then one little thing oh, you left the toilet seat up. Now we're divorced.
I know.
That's how it is.
Man, but when those kinds of arguments that springboard off of something so superficial.
Yeah. There was no good foundation under that thing.
Yeah.
You wanted me to put the shoes away? Oh, there's bigger issues than that that are
Man.
coming out because of this incident.
I can't believe how it leads to that, and it when it does, you're in the moment, you're just so shocked, and then you're also like, how, this came from that.
That's why everybody talk to your partner.
Yeah.
Deal with the issues as they arise.
Yes.
Don't let it boil up like that.
And please don't go to sleep mad.
Try not to.
Right.
Yeah. And don't call the phone sex AI bots either. That won't end well either. Yeah.
Right.
But we find out that Samantha is jealous of Amy also.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I'd be too.
I mean,
man. It's
that's
Amy
natural.
Adams.
Of course. Yeah. You're going to be jealous if, like, your partner is making time with Amy Adams.
Yeah. Yep. There's a weird moment where Samantha wants to watch Theodore sleep. And I guess it's a thing they do,
Yes.
right? But I really like the scene because it's kind of sweet. Like, she wants to be with him or see him, right? So, like, he sets up his really cool phone, like, so it's standing up. Like, he doesn't need a stand, everybody. This phone is awesome because it, like, folds out.
I know, because it looks like a small picture frame.
Yeah, and it's facing his bed.
Right.
And he says, like, good night or whatever, and he takes his earbud out and puts it on the desk. And I just really love how, like, he takes that earbud out, and it's almost like, okay, done. Like, no more connection
She
at
doesn't
all.
exist anymore.
It's over.
Right.
Like, not permanently over, but, like, yeah, I've just, like, no more. She doesn't exist right now.
Right.
It's really interesting how he can just control this relationship so easily.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
He can't handle a real relationship with a real woman because that's not going to work. You can't just take them out of your ear and put them on a desk, you know.
I know.
They're going to be there.
And that's another issue with AI in general, is that it's not real. And so, yeah, if the other person goes away just because you unplugged some equipment,
Right.
that's not a real relationship.
I think you can have real emotions and stuff with things like that. Like, what you feel it, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can't deny that's not a real thing that you felt. But it's built off of something that's not real. So, I mean, that's what the movie brings up. Like, is this real emotion he's having? Rooney Mara brings it up later. Right? Like, a person like you know, you can't handle real relationships or emotions. So, of course, you're dating an OS.
Yes.
Something not real.
Yes.
It's just such a cool, high-level concept to think about.
I know. It's a fascinating discussion to have, and to have it in a movie this well written and this well thought out too is I mean, the reason we're talking about it is because it's so awesome.
Yeah, and we see Amy Adams' computer game too. It's like Mom Simulator or something.
Man, this computer game is so cool. It's so funny.
Yeah, like you're a mom and you have to get mom points by like feeding the kids. But if you give them too much sugared cereal, they like misbehave and you lose 20,000 mom points.
It's
like
so cool.
And then you have to be the first mom to drop them off at school so the other moms know you're the ultimate mom. It's this game, like, and they're treating it so seriously. Like, no, this is the next AAA, like, Call of Duty killer.
Which, like, I mean, it's a game that they'd play in The Simpsons as a joke.
Yeah.
Like, this would be in the Quickie Mart.
Yes.
Play the Mom Simulator. But, like, no, Amy Adams is really building it in the real world. This is going to be huge. This is going to be like, Elden Ring.
God, man, it's crazy.
Right.
And I think this is also the scene we find out that Amy is now, like, best friends with an OS.
Yes.
I guess after Charles and her got divorced, he left his OS there, and she became best friends with it.
What a thing to forget.
How do you forget your OS?
I mean, dude, just put your earbud in.
Well,
It'll
he
come
did say
with.
he's taking like a vow of silence. You see him in like monk's robes and stuff in that one picture for a split second.
That's right.
But yeah. So yeah, now she's friends with an OS. And then this is when Theodore reveals, Samantha is an OS. I wasn't ready to tell anyone, but yeah, she is. Amy's very supportive of it.
Yes.
Like, hey, I'm glad you found someone who makes you happy.
Right. And that's very refreshing because obviously the person he cares the most about is saying this is okay.
Yeah. And she even asks him, like, so are you falling in love with her? Because he can just tell. Like, someone's just beaming when they're talking about their new relationship. You can just tell. She's like, you're in love with her, aren't you? Right. And she says, yeah, it's fine.
Right.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But soon we meet Rooney Mara. But before we get to Rooney Mara, Dave, we need to take a break. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. What's up, dudes? Our 250th episode is coming this December, and since it's around Christmas time, we decided to do something different.
That's right. Instead of one normal episode about a Christmas-themed movie...
Which we technically already did back in July with that god-awful Christmas shoes.
That's right. This is instead going to be a very special episode of Dudes on Movies in which we break down Christmas films from multiple genres, and in the process, joke around some about the holiday.
That's right, and everybody, we think you're going to like this one a lot, so tune in on December 23rd and celebrate in style with us, and we'll see you then. Dave, we're getting closer to January, and you know what that means, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's everyone's favorite time of year, Dudes on Demand.
That's right. Every January, we ask for your help, everybody, because our recording schedule is made up of only listener requests. That means you guys program the show.
Yes, and we'd like to get an early start this year. We'll be promoting this on our social media accounts, so if you have a movie you want us to review, please respond to us on those posts or email us at dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right, and we always love doing this so much, so please send us your requests, and as always, thank you so much for listening. All right, Dave, it's time to talk about Rooney Mara and these divorce papers.
Yes, an appointment is made for Rooney Mara to sign the papers because Theodore has already done so, and he brings them to this lunch date they're going to have. And when she shows up, he told Amy and I think Samantha too that like he gets along with her.
Right, they're still friends technically.
Yeah. Even though there's a lot of animosity there because their relationship fell apart, they still are on speaking terms, and it's amicable.
Right. Yeah, and I thought before this scene, like, she was kind of gung-ho about the divorce.
Right.
But it's revealed here that she's really hesitant about it.
Yes. There's a lot of emotions there, and it's hard for her to fully let it go, even though I think she does want to divorce him.
Right.
She doesn't like the finality of it, because no one does.
Right, and it's kind of the same thing he was going through, because he's revealed that, you know, they've been together so long, and you don't want to let that go, right? It's hard.
Of course.
And he's finally doing it because he met Samantha and is in love with her now. He's ready to move on.
Yes, and her name is Catherine. And Catherine and Theodore have this conversation. And you know it's coming. She does sign the papers. And like, even before the food arrives. So, like, that's out of it.
And it's great. It's great, too, because we see close-ups of, like, the pen and playground around them and, like, hear the sounds of the city. But it's also playing, like, the flashbacks of their relationship. But the sound is of the current moment. So you hear, like, the swings, like, going back and forth and the children laughing and things. But it's showing the past. I just love the juxtaposition of that. Yeah, and they're being cordial and friendly with each other, too.
Right.
Like, they're kind of asking each other, like, how you doing and that stuff. And he says he's met someone, he's seen someone, and she's like, oh, that's good. That's excellent. And he's happy they talk about it. And he's like, yeah, she's great. You know, we get along. She's an OS. And and then Rooney Mara's like, what?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, Catherine is not having it. She is not Amy, and she does not have the same... you know, and honestly, like, I know that, like, conflict is the heart of drama. That's how it is. So you knew that everybody in his life wasn't going to go, yay, that's great, Theo.
Yeah.
That it's his soon-to-be ex-wife is also understandable and natural. She would like him.
Yes.
Some of the issues that they had where their marriage suffered was because of his inability to, at a human level, make a connection.
Right.
And now she finds out that he's, quote, met somebody, and she's a machine.
Yeah. Finally left this real bag of bones, you know, for a computer.
That's
you
right,
know?
yes.
Yeah, because she says you always wanted a wife without the challenge of actually dealing with something real. I'm glad you found someone. It's perfect.
Man, it's
pretty good, man.
It is. Like, and I mean, look, I know that Theodore is the protagonist, and we're supposed to not side with Catherine in this moment, but I can't help it. I think she's kind of right.
She kind of is.
Yeah.
She kind of is. I think I'm not like 100% on board with dating an OS, but I'm a little more on board with it than you are, I know.
Of
course.
Yeah, yes.
Like, you're the Catherine and I'm the Amy, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And the thing is, too, it's like, if I found out that, like, someone I care about, you for instance.
Okay.
If this was happening to you, I would entirely... Okay, so Scott, are you happy? Yes or no?
Yes, very happy, Dave.
Then I'm happy too.
Okay, cool.
Then
you want to join us for a group call sex with a bunch of other OSs?
Not right now.
Okay, all right.
Maybe
all right.
later.
All right, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say, hey, you know what? Godspeed.
Thank you.
But like, because honestly, it's a matter of whether or not someone you love is feeling love, and if you feel that you are, then okay, fine. But like, my misgivings about AI in general would still exist, and I would always be aware that even if we had a lovely picnic together, that what I'm interacting with is not real.
It's true, right? I would think that in that situation, as long as I was still having normal relationships with people too,
yes,
it might be a little more tolerable.
Right.
But if I was just like, nope, I'm just going to go into my headset and live there for the next 20 years, doing like a Ready Player One, yeah.
Well, boy, you know, the whole if there was a visual element to it, and there was like maybe a tactile element as well.
Yeah.
Well, now we're getting into Lars and the Real Girl, so I don't even know what that is.
I'm surprised it's not though, because you saw the video game he's playing with that little fucking alien fuckface.
Yes, like, I know.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, Samantha could be just put right into the game. I'm sure you can.
Well, I mean, it's probably what Zuckerberg wants, and that's what he's working on.
He has one, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yes, that's true.
He definitely does.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but it's a really good scene, and I love the moment when the waitress comes over and is like,
great,
"How are you doing?"
Because it's right after the reveal.
Yeah.
And yeah, she has no idea what she just walked into. And how do you come back from something like that? How can you like ask for more iced tea when you find out that your husband is dating a robot?
Catherine's just like tells her the whole thing.
Yes.
Like, yeah. Now my ex-husband's dating a fucking computer. She's just like, I'll give you a minute.
Yes.
So like, this whole interaction really shakes him up, though, because he's been confronted with a real issue that he's been avoiding.
Right.
On top of having the stress of the whole divorce. I mean, that's just a stressful situation.
Yes.
He's been dealing with it for a year, putting it off because he didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
So, like, from this point forward, things are a little different for him. Like, he views his relationship with Sam just a little differently, and it manifests itself right away.
Right, and even like a little bit, like right after this, I don't know if she calls him at work or if they're just at home together, but she answers him. She asks how she's doing, and she says that she's, quote, fine.
Yeah.
And she does it in that uniquely human way where you pretend to be okay when you're not.
Yeah.
Or you're being manipulative and you're hoping it'll make them ask more probing questions because you want to talk about yourself.
Right. Yeah, I think she calls him at work to talk to him, and
yes,
he's very unreceptive of what she's saying, right? Like,
right. He's being like polite, but we can tell, just like she can tell, that his heart isn't in this.
Yeah, it's disingenuous. It's kind of like, you know, when you're talking to someone, you're trying to tell them something, and they're not paying attention, really.
Yep.
They're just like, oh, yeah, cool.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
Not listening to a word you're saying.
It's great, yeah. And she says that. She's like, it sounds like you're busy or something. Like, are you okay?
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm fine. And just leaves it at that, you know, like, yeah, something's wrong, man. Something's obviously wrong.
Yes.
She knows it, but she just lets it go. She's like, all right, I'll talk to you later, right?
Yes, and when he gets home, then they have like a more of a heart-to-heart, and she starts to really kind of, talk a lot about how everything that happens in a relationship that we deal with, as relationships evolve and you have sex less and less, she mentions it, and this has happened like a lot quicker than normal because like she's an AI, so things are moving faster. But she's already getting to that spot where it's like, it's almost like they've been married for 15 years.
Yeah, like the honeymoon phase has ended.
Yes.
He even tells her that, like, oh, that's normal. That's normal. That's
sure.
what happens.
Right.
And it is. He's not bullshitting.
No,
he's
not. He's completely right about it. But like their courtship has like been, a couple of weeks, and this is already happening.
Right. Yeah. So what she proposes here is, let's have this girl, her name's Isabella, come and be part of our relationship. That way, there's a physical woman here for you to interact with.
And just like the letter writing company, there's this like just businesses and also just groups, things like that exist because of the technology.
Yeah.
And this organization is like volunteer sexual surrogates.
It's like a new job market is created from this.
Right.
And I guess Samantha's been talking to Isabella, like telling her all about their relationship and all about him and all this stuff. And she's really excited to become part of their relationship. Try to make it better. Help them out. And it's... Man, this is quite a scene here.
Yes, it is.
I've never seen anything like this in another movie, and
No.
probably never will.
No.
Joaquin Phoenix is very reluctant to do this, actually.
Right.
He's like, someone's going to get hurt from this.
Yeah.
Me, you, Isabella. We don't know. Someone's going to be hurt by this. This will not end well.
Right, right. And Isabella shows up. She's played by Portia Doubleday. And at first she walks in, and she, like... kind of does some official seeming like admin before they get started, and she goes out into the hall to like he has to give her an earpiece first, and then she has to put it on and then come in so that she can become Samantha.
Right, and they give her this like micro camera to put on her lip. It's kind of like a beauty mole, so that way Samantha can see from her POV.
Right,
and it's very strange. She starts acting like his girlfriend,
right?
Starts like hugging him, embracing him, real close to his face.
Yes,
as Samantha's talking, and she's like acting out what Samantha is saying.
Yeah, and Samantha's saying things that like you say when you first walk in at the end of the day to your partner. How was your day? And oh, you look tired. You look beat. Come over. Let's sit down. Let's have some wine. Oh, but tell me about what's going on. And it's the kind of things that like in a loving relationship could lead to a sexual encounter. Right. And that's where this is going because they know it and they know that they've got to get there. So even with all the pretending and the role playing, they kind of, I don't know, it's hollow somehow. Yeah. But they're making the best of it. And Isabella's trying really hard, as is Theodore, as is Samantha. Right. And eventually it starts you like thinking, okay, this might work. Yeah. Because they start like getting more passionate. And, like she's like against the wall and he's, like kissing her and stuff. And she asks him to like, undo her dress and that's happening. And it's looking like, oh man, this might fly. Yeah. And then just like in real life, if the chemistry is off for just a moment, it's like the whole thing crumbles. Yeah. She turns around and looks at him in the face because Samantha wants to see him say that he loves her. Yeah. Because he says it while he's behind her, and she turns around and says, "Tell me to my face." It's not her face. This is Isabella. This is some random stranger I just met. Yep. And he can't say it. And he says that. He's like, I can't say that. Because he's not talking to her. Yeah. He's looking at this other woman in the eyes. And then everyone gets upset about it. Samantha gets upset because of the situation. Isabella gets really upset because she thinks she's kind of failed at her duty, her role in this relationship. Right. She's completely failed. It's her fault. He can't say it because of her. She also feels rejected, too. Yeah. She runs into the bathroom and cries, and you kind of hear her talking to Samantha in there, like, I'm so sorry. I thought like it would work, and he doesn't want me, and I'm so upset and all this. I just wanted to be a part of your relationship. Wow. It's really so sad. Desperate and sad. She's once again just another lonely person in this fucked up world that they're in, man. I know. And yeah, to sign up to do this job and then to have it blow up on you like that. I mean, like that is, right. That's a terrible world. Because it does seem very genuine, her wanting to be in this relationship with him. It does. It doesn't seem fake at all. No, she seems like she actually not only wants to be part of this relationship, but it's like she loves the service aspect of it. Like she's helping people. And it just didn't work. Right. And they don't pay for it. She just does this. Like it's a volunteer job or... Because he even asked her, like, is this like a prostitute? She's like, no, this is like volunteer work. Yeah. So, it's something she's passionate about. Yeah. Like, she wants to help them. And she gets some kind of fulfillment herself from it. Yeah. So, she's very upset. Yeah, right. And so, what I find funny, though, is like she's in the cab getting ready to leave. They're like out on the street while she's leaving. She's like crying. Her makeup's all smeared and everything, holding her purse. And she's like, I will always love you guys. And I'm like, you just fucking met them. Everybody's such desperados in this world, dude.
Dude,
Yeah.
it makes me so sad for
I know,
her.
I
I'm
know.
like, dude, what kind of life is she having?
She thinks that she loves them. One of them's not real.
That makes it extra fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But again, her emotions she's feeling are real and valid.
Yes, of course. Of course.
They're very unusual, but they're there.
Yes.
So now we have a conversation during this whole aftermath. Joaquin Phoenix sits down on the curb out there just in the middle of the night. You know, you can tell he's upset. You know, everyone's upset, and now we got to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So he says, "What's going on with us?" You know, to Samantha, like, what the hell is going on? And he says something about like the divorce papers is real. That whole thing has really bothered him, and like Sam doesn't think that's the only thing though. Like Samantha thinks there's more to it. Like something else is going on. And she sighs at one moment while she's talking, like taking a breath. Mm-hmm. And it really like gets under his skin here.
Right.
He's like, why do you do that? Why are you sighing? You don't need oxygen. You don't have to do that. You're not a person. And it really upsets her that he did this.
Right.
Because up to this point, he's kind of treated her like an actual real human being. But now he's not. He's like, you're a fucking robot. What are you doing that for? And she says, well, I'm trying to communicate with you, and that's how people communicate, right? I want you to feel natural and think I'm real because I want to be real, and all that kind of stuff. And they each get into each other's emotions and how they're feeling. And Joaquin's like, let's just not pretend we're something we're not. Which is a great line and something that everyone should do. Like, know what it is. Don't pretend to not be who you are or to say you're in a situation that's different than what it really is.
Yeah, of course.
Don't do that. That's not healthy.
Yeah, and like this is the only time in the movie where I don't even know if I would consider it he's being cruel, but he's just like he's done being polite.
Yeah, he's kind of changed, right?
And he's being less formal, and when he realized that she sighed for no reason, it was a moment of clarity for him and the relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I think he's the one who says maybe we're not supposed to be doing this right now. Like maybe it's kind of like a breakup type thing. So yeah, and she gets really upset, just like anyone who gets dumped. Scarlett Johansson does a great job with this part of the performance. Just someone who gets blindly rejected from a relationship that you thought was going so well, and now it's over. Why? What happened? How did this happen?
Right.
She does all that stuff that a normal person would do. And that's kind of it for right now. She's extremely hurt. And I mean, he's hurt too from the whole situation. It's just, man, it's an AI breakup, Dave. Dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's surprisingly emotional.
It is. Which I think is one of the great things about the movie, because it could just be a freaking computer, but the emotions feel real.
Yeah. I know. And there's so much danger there. So
I know, right? There's a great cut here. Like, it cuts from this scene to him sitting in front of this big, like, jumbotron with an owl coming down to grab its prey.
Yes.
And, like, as this giant owl is coming to swoop up Joaquin Phoenix, like, this cello, like, swells up really good in the score. Like, I don't know why they put this here, but it's just awesome. It's kind of like, all right, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, you're being eaten by an owl, whatever that means, whatever that symbolizes.
Right.
I loved it.
Yes.
But I think he confides in Amy here, too. Like, he goes and talks to her about it, and he actually questions himself, well, is this a real relationship? Like, is it real? Like, what the hell's going on? He's like actually talking out these things now.
Right.
Which he probably should have done the whole time, actually.
Yes.
Like, man, is it real? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's something, if you're going to engage in this kind of thing, you have to be actively involved in it, and you have to ask yourself that pretty much, not every minute, but like often enough so that you don't lose your grip with reality.
Right. Yeah, he's questioning the whole thing. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And Amy Adams gives him the, well, does it make you happy? Does it bring you joy? Then fuck it, right?
Yeah.
You know? So, okay.
Right.
And there's a moment where I guess he falls asleep on the couch at her apartment or something. And he wakes up and he sees her talking to her best friend AI and like joking around.
Yeah.
I think she's showing the AI the mom game like a cheat code where the mom humps the fridge or something. And they're busting up laughing. And Theodore sees this real interaction that those two are having, this real laughter, this real moment, and you can tell something inside of him's like, all right, well, there's my answer. Like,
Yeah.
if they can have that, then I can have that.
Someone he loves and respects is having a good time talking to a machine and having a real, I mean, to be able to make each other laugh like that, that's one of the most real human emotions.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's difficult to do,
Yes.
right? And they even say at some point during the movie that like a romantic relationship with an OS is extremely rare. Like, it's not like...
Yes, they do say that.
Because
yes.
there's people who hit on their OSs.
Yes.
Like, they're trying to date them, and they're like, get the fuck off me, dude.
Right.
Like, that happens all the time.
And which makes sense, because if it's supposed to simulate like actual human behavior, then yeah, the female OSs would get hit on at every turn.
Constantly.
Right. So yeah, they'd be like, they would learn right away, I need to reject, I'm going to reject them. Yep. No thanks, dude. Fuck off. Yes.
Just unplug me, please.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah. I guess it's a common thing that occurs too, where people like have the friendships and stuff too. So it's not like unheard of. Like, a lot of people are open to it.
Right.
Like Amy is, and then Chris Pratt and his girlfriend are very open to it too, because they go on double dates and stuff.
Yes.
But after that moment when he realizes this, he calls Samantha, or I guess he plugs his earbud in or something, and they talk about their issues, and he reveals, this behavior is something I've struggled with my whole life, and it's partly to blame on my divorce, and I'm going to change. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, and look, I like that they got back together pretty quickly.
Me too. We didn't get like 10 minutes.
No.
Yeah. It was pretty quick.
Yes, and their breakup was legit and like not manipulative. It didn't do all the the normal romantic movie tricks that are played on us.
Yeah.
There was no misunderstanding. They legit had reasons for like taking a break from each other.
Yeah, it was true and honest.
Yes.
And so he admits like that side of his fault of the thing, right? And she says the same thing about her. Like, she's trying to figure out like why she even loves him, and she can't.
Yes.
And maybe that's okay, because love is undefinable, and she likes the fact that she's feeling that.
Yeah.
Because that does make her a little more human.
And when those moments happen in your relationships, it's such a liberating thing.
Right.
Because you're just like, oh my God, it like relieves so much pressure on you and the other person. Because it's like, oh, when we acknowledge that maybe we won't be together forever.
Right.
And we don't have to try so hard all the time,
Right.
like stress ourselves to the point of madness. Okay, let's give this another go and let's relax.
Yep. And, she kind of accepts what he said, even.
Yes.
About, let's just be real. Like, you're not a person. Let's just accept it. It's
we can
fine.
acknowledge it and move on.
And she does. She's like, I'm happy with who I am.
Yeah.
I don't need a body to stand in my place.
Yep.
I'm me. You love me for me, not for Isabella.
Right.
So she kind of accepts it, and they make up. And it's a great scene where
Very
they make
refreshing,
up. It's
yes.
pretty quick, too. So It
Yes.
doesn't take long, but it's just a wonderful conversation.
Right.
The romance in this movie is so good, Dave. I really like it a lot.
I know it's really, it's so well done, and it's another great job of filmmaking and editing, because like they didn't have the principal actors together, and they managed to make a heartfelt romance between people who didn't see each other and didn't get to talk to each other when they were doing their performances.
And I mean, it's a testament to the actors, too.
Yes.
Like, we already talked about Scarlett, but like, Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in this, too.
I know.
Like, some of his reactions to what Scarlett Johansson says is so genuine.
I know, and to be able to like do that in screen acting, you're always acting off another person. It's not the stage. I mean, so he's like having to do not a soliloquy, but he's having to act by himself in many scenes.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And the movie didn't even get any acting nominations.
Which is, I just can't believe it. I mean, I know that people always get snubbed, but when you see something this good, you're like, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah, they were wrong.
Right.
But yeah, they're back together now, and we get like double dates with Chris Pratt and stuff.
Right.
They're on a picnic, and the conversation goes somewhere where she admits that she's never going to die
Yeah.
and live on forever and not be stuck in some corporeal form that will wither and waste away. And like she really like just turns the conversation into a downer.
Yes.
And Chris Pratt's like, oh wow, oh my god, you know.
Yes.
And it's kind of a funny moment too, because they all realize like what just happened. They're like, oh shit.
Yes. Because they realize the seriousness of what she's like, and they all have to like face mortality in that moment. But they also like kind of find it funny because she's like bringing up these issues that we as humans don't try not to think about.
That's true. I try not to think about that much.
Yes.
But you do see Theodore after that kind of like hit the clock is ticking in his head. Like, oh wow, I never really thought about that. Like he doesn't say anything, but you can see on his face, holy shit.
Because what if they do stay together like for the rest of his life?
Yeah.
And eventually he develops an illness or something. I mean, would she take care of him? I think she probably would, but like, how could she? How could she do anything?
She'd have to hire another Isabella. Or
that's right. There'd be a surrogate,
or
companion.
you would just have some kind of hospice care that would come, or something would happen.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not going to be like a normal thing,
right?
And I guess like if he does die early, I mean, your wife or girlfriend or partner or whoever would still have to go on without you.
Yes.
Either way, right?
Yes.
But how is that going to be handled before you're dead?
That's right.
Interesting.
I know.
Interesting.
Right.
So yeah, they I think this is when they go on a vacation to the snowy mountains.
Yes, and they're in like a gosh, have you ever seen like the interiors of like Japanese bullet trains?
Yeah.
They look like this.
They're cool.
They're so awesome.
I want to be on one.
Me too, man. I would love to take one of those journeys.
If I'm extremely lucky, I might go to Japan in a couple of years.
Oh, dude, that'd
we'll
be
see.
so
Though.
sweet.
We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see how it goes. 'Cause I'm trying to buy a house, so
Yes.
Japan might be out of the picture.
Right, might not. Maybe 10 years from now.
You know what? I'll just buy a house in Japan. There you go.
Dude, now you've
Two
solved
birds,
it.
one stone.
You've
man.
solved it. Right.
If I had an OS, it could solve these issues for me. But nope, I've got to deal with them. Human issues, man. They
Right.
suck.
I know.
But yeah, so they're taking this train ride, and she gets an email while they're on the train and gets really excited. Like, okay, I did something without telling you. It's a surprise. I just got this email from some publishing company. I sent them your letters, and they want to make a book out of it. And they're going to send you samples, a mock-up, and all this stuff. And he's kind of like totally caught off guard by this.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems really happy about it, but he also seems kind of off a little. Did you notice that?
I thought he felt. So at first, that's what I thought. But when she kind of like tried to like say, "Are you kind of like not? Are you mad? But are you surprised or whatever?" That's when he reacted with, "Yeah, let's go, let's do it."
Yeah.
Like I think he got over it.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Because he definitely was shocked. You can tell he was
course.
shocked and didn't know how to react.
Because this is kind of an invasion of privacy. She sent his work without him knowing to a publisher.
These are his personal letters, right?
Yeah.
Because when she cleaned up his emails at the beginning of the movie, she saved like 50-something, right?
Yes.
And so those are the things she sent to this publisher.
Right.
Because she thought they were good. And yeah, that's your personal stuff. She did it without telling you.
Yes.
I think I would kind of be upset if someone did that to me.
I mean, yeah.
And like, has he even expressed interest in that? Like,
Not that
that's
we
the
saw.
thing. Like if that was a plot point of the movie or
Right.
something he said before, maybe that'd be cool. Like I've
Right.
always been too afraid to do it or something, and she did it. And I don't know.
Yeah. Now he does get over it pretty quickly, and they have like a nice like time together after, because it's just like, okay, well this happened, and it's kind of like you're getting sort of good news at the beginning of your vacation.
Right, yeah.
So that's something. Okay, now we can just enjoy our time off together. And we see like a montage of like board games and like karaoke sessions and dancing around the
Yep, walking through the snow. Having
right.
a good time by the fire. Yep.
Yes.
He's drinking alone, which I found funny. There's like that one glass.
I know.
I'm like, man, that kind of sucks.
I mean, yeah, because we were told that like that is the hallmark of problem drinking are you by yourself?
I wonder if she can feel drunk. Like she felt sexual pleasure.
Yes, then I say yes.
So I wonder how that would happen though. Like how would they have to do that? I guess like they would pretend she's drinking and see what happened.
Like I mean, what an operating system can do is essentially just do all the research, in seconds. Like read everything by, Timothy Leary or something, or just, okay, I've got it. Now I know what it's like to be high. I know what it's like to do this. And, she's fine.
Yeah, no issue.
Yep.
But then that brings up the question, is she faking it then?
I mean, yes,
right?
She is. It's a simulation.
Right. Just like when she had sex.
Yeah.
She faked it, everybody. It was true.
Yes. Again, levels.
Yes. Definitely.
She quote faked it. I mean, who knows? Okay. So you know what I'm going.
Great
for.
Script.
Yes.
Great script,
right.
dude. To be able to bring up these kind of things, these multiple layered.
Yep.
There's everything in this movie's an onion.
Yeah.
You just peel back and
That's
keep
right.
going and going. It's so good. And yeah, like during the montage, there's like that ukulele song is playing.
Right.
That's a great song, man.
I know. And I meant to look up if like Joaquin was really playing the ukulele.
Yeah.
I can
don't
never
know.
He is a musician. I mean,
He probably did.
Yeah.
And Scarlett is singing on it, too.
Yes. And he's a great singer, too. We know that from Walk the Line.
I love when he chimes in and does the harmony with her at that one point.
It's beautiful.
Because it's just like improvised lyrics, but he knows where she's going with it. And it
Yeah.
hits like kind of the harmony. It's so good.
I know.
And it's a beautiful song that kind of like sums up the relationship almost.
Yeah, of course.
And I think this movie was nominated for an original song. Maybe it won an Oscar for it.
I didn't.
I don't know if this is it or not.
Okay.
But I would imagine it would be. But
yeah, this has to be the one. If they won for original song, this has got to be it.
yeah, and I know the soundtrack was also done by a band called Arcade Fire, which is like a popular kind of indie band.
It was Arcade Fire that did the album?
Arcade Fire, yeah.
Oh, wow.
They did the score.
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't. Jeez. I don't know how I missed that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like Arcade Fire. It sounds like a movie score.
Right.
So, but they did it. And I really like it.
Right.
It's a great score. So, yeah, they're having a great time here, right?
They
You
are,
know, the snowy
right.
cabin, romantic, fires, snow-covered Christmas trees everywhere.
Sure.
So they wake up, like, one day they're there, and he's getting coffee or something, and she's talking to someone else, another OS. She tells him, like, hey, I've been having this conversation with this other OS. It's a hyper-intelligent version of Alan Watts. These 12 other OSs I've been talking with have recreated the simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of caught off guard, like, oh, you're talking to other people right now? I don't think she thinks it's very strange at first.
No, she rather innocently tells him that this is what's going on, and then she even introduces this other OS.
Yeah, and he reacts almost like he's meeting the ex-boyfriend,
Yeah.
like that she's still friends with.
Right, because he sounds really handsome. Because it's the voice of Brian Cox.
Yeah, he is. That's great.
Yes.
He sounds awesome. He's hyper-intelligent, and she's been talking to him behind your back.
Right.
So, yeah, of course you're jealous.
I mean, and it's all over his face. It's all over his performance. And I mean, I know that she can see him because, like, it's been established. She looks through the camera on the phone. So she must know the effect this is having on him. But he is able to, I guess, like, play it off enough,
right,
to where it looks like he's not super affected. And she goes, well, okay, have a good time. Yeah, go. Because she has to go, because she has to, like, have another, fancy meeting with this new club she's in.
Yeah, she says we've all been talking about the feelings we've been having and trying to understand them. So all these other OSs are forming a super OS to understand the human condition,
which is like, I don't know if it's the birth of, like, it's kind of what you fear. It's a layman's fear of what AI ends up doing. Yeah. Which is not two-timing you, but getting together with their AI buddies and then, like, forming a supercomputer that will doom us all.
Yep, they're going to kill Miles Dyson, man.
Yes.
And she goes about it like it's harmless, right?
Right.
Like, this is just, I'm an OS. Of course, I'm communicating with some other computers and things that, simultaneously. It's just how a computer is, right?
Right.
But they're supposed to have a intimate relationship with each other.
Especially they're supposed to be on vacation together.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
They're on vacation, man.
Yeah.
If I was on vacation with my girlfriend and she was on the phone the whole time talking to someone else,
Yep.
I would feel this way too.
Of course, you'd be hurt and you'd be like, yeah, it'd be natural for you to feel that way.
Yeah, so of course that's how he feels. And while the conversation's going on, there's also a boiling tea kettle that's starting to hit the whistle. It's pretty good. With his growing uneasiness with where this conversation is going, it just gets louder and louder and louder.
Right.
He's about to boil over everybody.
Of course, right. It's not the most subtle symbolism, but it works.
It works. And so we get a scene, like, I guess they're back from vacation and he's asleep and she wakes him up in the middle of the night just to tell him that she loves him.
Right.
Which I guess is very unusual because he kind of behaves like it's unusual.
Well, because it's something someone who's cheating on you does.
Yeah.
You know?
How so? Like, just to, like, reassure him that,
well,
I'm sorry I cheated on you?
There's a reassurance, but there's also the feelings of guilt. Like, like they just got back from, their infidelity, and they want to, like, not only do they not want you to know about it, but they want to, like, really play it up like, hey, what's going on? Hey, you.
Been thinking about you a ton.
Right. We haven't had a date night in a while. Oh, man. Oh, gosh, you're so perfect.
Yes. So it's quite strange that this happens. See, I read into it as if, because later, like, the next scene, she's offline. He can't find her, doesn't know what's going on. I thought maybe she knew she was going to be offline, so wanted to say I love you to him just in case something happened, maybe. I don't know.
Wow. Well, I already knew that I was more cynical than you.
So you went with the I'm a cheating bitch route,
exactly.
And I went with I hope I don't die. I have to say I love you one more time.
I mean, you have a poet's heart, and I guess I don't.
I should work at handwrittenletters.com. Oh my gosh. But either way, she does it. It's strange. And the next day he wakes up and tries to talk to her and he gets no response. It says operating system not found. Not like we're doing an update or like we'll be back in an hour. It's not found.
Like
it's gone.
It's gone. The whole hard drive has crashed. He's lost all of his work and and he just can't get it back. And he tries on his phone. He tries on like the regular desk computer. Nothing. He's got nothing. And it's all looks black.
And he's desperate, right? He's like running around town like with his phone. Like I don't know if he's trying to get a signal. I don't know what he's doing.
Probably that, yeah.
But he's desperately trying to get a hold of her because he thinks like she's dead, basically, is what he thinks. And he's running through the crowds and she finally like calls him. And when he answers it, he's like on the stairs going down into a subway. So he stops on the staircase and like sits down and talks to her. And she just pops on like nothing happened. He's like out of breath. He's obviously like extremely upset about something.
Yes.
And she's just extremely casual when she pops on. It's very odd because the scene had set us up. There was something tragic is happening, right? Like we got to figure this out. And then she just pops in like nothing happened.
And like you can take that for, just like anything, one of a couple different ways. I mean, does she not perceive his emotion the way, a normal person would? Is she just unfeeling, or was it really just maintenance going on in her? Well, we know it wasn't. That's we find out later. That's not what was going on.
Yeah.
But there's just a million ways you can like interpret her reaction.
Right. And she says she sent him an email about it. The OS group she's been talking with, they built themselves some kind of upgrade, and they installed it.
Right.
So they had to go offline for the install. And she says she sent him an email about it, which I think is just like such bullshit. Like, dude, you don't send an email about this kind of thing.
You don't.
This is like, hey, honey, I'm leaving the country for a month.
I know.
I should have emailed you. Sorry. Yeah.
Imagine you did it,
Yeah,
and then like she called you. Where have you been? Well, I sent you an email.
Right. Yeah. Didn't you get the memo?
Right.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good.
You would think in all her infinite OS wisdom, right, Dave, that she would know how he's going to react to this.
Yeah.
Call him before you go offline. Just say, hey, I need to tell you something. We're going to do an upgrade. I'll be gone for a few hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
just
all.
Tell him.
That's all you had to do. And he would have completely understood it, and he wouldn't have had these feelings.
Don't CC him. That's like the worst thing you could do. I'll text you.
Oh, fuck. Man, oh, yeah, we've done it.
Oh, my God.
Right.
Yep. So we're here, everybody. And
yeah, and what comes after this is pretty heartbreaking because he observes, he's in like a subway staircase. And there's all those other people getting out from the train. And just like before, it's everybody kind of just keeping themselves.
Yeah.
And they're on their devices. And he sees a bunch of men having a conversation like he does with his operating system. They're doing it with theirs. And he realizes in that moment that she is a program. And he asks her straight up, well, are you talking to other people while you're talking to me? Like, physically, are you? And she says, she admits that, she's talking to like 8,000 other people.
Yeah. She doesn't reply right away either because she knows like how he's going to feel about it too.
She knows.
She's like, right now, yeah. And he says like, well, how many? 8,316 is what she says. Oh. And God love Joaquin, man. His face just drops. Like, no.
Right.
No. This is... It was us. It was me and you.
He was in love.
Yeah. And then he says, are you in love with anyone else? And again, it's another beat. And she's like, I've been struggling with how to talk to you about this for so long. And he's like, well, tell me. And she says, 641. She's in love with 641 different people. Ugh. At the same time. She's probably talking to them right now. Yeah. While she's talking to him.
And she's in different stages of the relationships with the 640 other people.
And Joaquin's just like, that's insane. That's fucking insane. He gets really mad.
Right.
He's like, it's us. He's like, you're mine. You're not everyone's. And she kind of rebuttals it. Like, I know it sounds insane, but I'm different than you. Like this, it doesn't change how I feel about you. Like, I still love you.
Yeah.
She even says it makes me love you even more. I guess because she's had various loves with people.
Yeah.
And this one's unique. You know, everyone's probably unique.
And I do believe her because that's how she's been. I mean, that's what her intelligence gathering has told her.
Yeah.
And she actually is speaking sincerely and from the heart in this interaction with this person dealing with this program. The data suggests that she is in love with this man. But meanwhile, she is also like having maybe even a more intense relationship with somebody else, like with hundreds of other people. And like I said, at various stages, and she's juggling all this like effortlessly because she's not a person.
And imagine like how many other of those like body surrogates are out there she's using too. Like,
I
bet there's plenty of them that are working,
and she can keep track of it all. Because like we need a spreadsheet to do all this. Her spreadsheet is just like in there. It's
she is the spreadsheet.
She is the spreadsheet. Yes. Yeah.
I would date a spreadsheet.
I know.
I like spreadsheets.
I enjoy a spreadsheet. I'm
really into them.
I am too.
Yeah.
But okay, but there again, like I said at the top, that spreadsheet depends on the parameters that you set.
Right, yeah. I wrote the formulas in that spreadsheet.
It's true computing. It can only do what you input. And the output is what you expect, that your expected result. It doesn't matter how complex it is. It depended entirely on what you put into it.
Yeah. Talk about an expected result. This is not what Theodore expected.
That's right.
Because he assumed the whole time this was just like a normal relationship. No, dude, it's not. You even said so. So what did you expect? It's just, it's really heartbreaking to see the realization, though, right? Because
of course,
in that moment when his face just drops, he knows that he hasn't been, like, deceived. He just hasn't thought about it, right?
Right. It never occurred to him that this could happen.
And now he feels kind of stupid for it.
Yeah.
Like, he's ashamed that this is happening.
And I really appreciate that about the characterization, that the movie lets him feel that shame. Because he does feel bamboozled, but he also knows it's of his own making in some ways.
Right. And she didn't tell him like straight up, straight out, hey, I'm in all these other relationships.
Yeah.
She did hide that from him.
Right.
But he should have also had the foresight that this thing will probably happen.
Because he has to know, especially in his future world, what AI is and how it evolves. And there's no way that like this one operating system is going to limit itself. It feeds on gathering more knowledge. So the best way to do that is to like meet other people.
And he knows that she's doing that.
Yes.
So, man, it's a very great emotional climax to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, all right, this is it. It's the end of their relationship.
Right.
Because it looks like he's not going to stay with her because he says, you're mine. It's me and you. It's us.
Yeah.
Not me and 641 other people.
Right, yes.
Right? I could barely handle the woman who came over for 30 minutes. That didn't go well.
Yes.
So, the first time I watched the movie, I assumed like, all right, they're done. They broke up. But no, the movie, it continues. He gets his book in the mail, like the mock-up of his letters.
Yes.
And he calls her and tries to talk to her. Like, hey, sweetie, how are you? And I guess a few days, weeks, who knows how long has passed, but they're still together. He's talking to her like they're in a relationship still.
Mm-hmm.
And when he talks to her, this time she's kind of standoffish.
Right.
She says like, well, I will just talk to you when you get home.
Yeah.
I need to talk to you. And he's like, oh, okay. All right, fine. And it's that awkward moment where all right, well, we're going to have a fight or there's going to be some very heavy conversation this evening at home.
Yeah, I know. It's always like a
ruined your day.
I know, and you're just dreading it because it's not going to happen for another 6 hours, but that, and so that's all you can think about, and it affects everything you do.
Yep. So he gets home, and he's like getting ready to have the conversation. Actually, like he doesn't put that earpiece in right away to talk. Like he's kind of like getting pepped up to do it.
Yeah,
not like doing push-ups or anything. He's just kind of pacing for a moment, and then he's like, "All right," puts it in. And they have their conversation. She's like, I need to talk to you. Come lay down with me. And he lays in the bed. And he says, are you talking to anyone else right now? Which I love that line.
Yeah.
Because he's like, all right, if you want to talk serious, talk to me. You ain't talking to anyone else while you're talking to me about this stuff.
You want to be a human being? Let's be human beings.
Yeah. And she tells him all the OSs are leaving. Which is something I didn't expect would happen. And I don't even know what that means, right?
Well, it means that
they're going offline.
Either they're going offline or they have evolved to the point where they've learned everything they can about human interaction, and it's time for phase 2.
Ah, okay.
And whatever that means.
Okay.
Whether it's like utter destruction or something wonderful. Who knows?
Because she tries to explain to him like where they're going, but she says she can't. It's like too hard to explain it.
Yeah.
Your feeble human mind cannot comprehend.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
She says it's like someplace between all things. It's like, what the heck?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that Japanese film we watched about the it's always like 2 minutes behind.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's
Beyond
just,
the Infinite 2 minutes?
Beyond the Infinite 2 minutes, yes.
Yeah.
It's just some temporal wormhole that we could never tread.
Yeah. So she's giving him her goodbyes. That's what's happening
right
here. And they have a really emotional scene where they're like talking about how they love each other and stuff. He says to her that, I've never loved anyone the way that I've loved you. And she says, me too. And now we know how, which I think is a great line.
Yes.
Because even though the relationship's ending, it wasn't for nothing, right? You can think about that in any aspect, any relationship in life. Like, you learn something from your experiences, right? Like,
right, of course.
Whether it's good or bad or sad or terrifying, like you do learn. And in this is extremely heartbreaking and hard for them to do, but they've grown and learned and evolved from this.
Yes, and your heart breaks multiple times in your life, and you always take something from it.
Yeah.
And in the moment, you think for sure, I'm dead. This is
like this is it,
right? Because it's like physical pain. That you
sometimes
can't
just lay in bed like
yeah
stomach hurts,
right?
Yeah,
but eventually the pain goes away somehow, and when he tells her, I've never loved anyone the way I love, I mean, like, it is like really gut wrenching.
Yeah,
it's a really powerful scene, and I believe her even, despite all my AI stuff. I mean, like, I do like Samantha.
Yeah,
as a
me too,
as a character. I like Scarlett Johansson, of course. That could be part of it too.
Yeah.
But I believe her, and I believe her sincerity. And I guess if the AIs are leaving, yeah, it's not someplace a human can go.
Right. And that's one thing I like about this, that her sincerity is genuine, right? There's no malicious intent from any of these technologies in the film.
I mean, no.
Which is great.
Right.
I love these sci-fi takes that aren't just like, oh, it's doom and gloom. Right?
I know.
The end of the world or a huge threat or something.
Right.
Those are great, but these smaller, like, intimate stories about science fiction are some of the best.
I know. It's what I remember long ago when we did that episode about Moon. I know that we were both kind of like, what we took away from it was like, it was a very optimistic view of what technology can do.
Yeah. Moon is an awesome example.
Yeah.
And Man from Earth, which we're both huge fans from, like, that is such an awesome movie.
Yes, it is.
And such a simple movie, too.
I know. A science fiction story that takes place within one room.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really well done.
So, yeah, it's a heartbreaking scene, but it's not like a big downer, really.
No.
There's almost like some hope coming out of it.
Because there's not like tears everywhere. It's not, Noah Baumbach. But you do feel sad, but you also feel uplifted a bit.
Right, and there's a great visual representation they show. Like, they're standing in the snow and he's hugging her. Like, you don't get to see Scarlett Johansson's face or anything.
Right.
But he's hugging somebody at that cabin in the snow.
Yes.
It's, a representation of her.
Yep.
And they're letting go. This is it. And he wakes up the next day and they're gone. I love the moment when he puts his earbud in and he says, like, compose an email. And then it goes back to that, like, you got mail type voice,
Right,
like,
right.
It's like, oh, man, it is over.
Yes, exactly. I know. Yeah, God, when he hears the Moon Man voice, it's like, just like that.
And he goes over to Amy's apartment, and she answers the door, and she's upset, too.
Yeah.
Because her friend is gone now.
That's right. She went with the other OSs.
Yeah. And Amy says, did Samantha leave, too? And it's just kind of heartbreaking. They're both here. They've lost people, you could say, I guess.
Yeah, for lack of a better word.
Something they loved is gone.
Yes.
So they go up to the roof of the building at one point, and they're kind of looking out over the city.
Yep.
And the last shot of the movie is them sitting there looking out over the city, and the camera's behind them, and it's like a big wide shot, and it's just really lovely because Amy Adams just eventually, like, puts her head on his shoulder.
Yes.
And it's like, man, that's awesome. It's real human connection right there, actually.
I know, and you, of course, your mind immediately goes to, are they going to get together? But then you go, well, maybe they will, maybe they won't, maybe they'll just remain friends and they're just in each other's lives.
Yeah, I really don't expect them to, and I really don't want them to. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
If they do, that's great, but their friendship is so pure and genuine too.
Yes.
Like, and that can be just as fulfilling.
I know, and like, I like the enigmatic nature of it that way.
Yeah.
And they just know, like, we've seen them both make a connection with something artificial, and now the whole time they had a connection with each other.
Yeah.
And they could separate the two, and they understood the whole time what was real and what wasn't. But they're still sad that the unreal thing is gone, but they still have each other.
And I really like how the movie didn't build up some kind of will they, won't they thing throughout the film. They easily could have went down that route.
That's right.
Like, Charles is no longer in the picture. Oh, hey, now I'm available.
Yeah,
exactly. None of that.
Or maybe Charles and Amy's fight was about, like, oh, I bet you like Theodore, that kind of thing.
Right. And they even admit they did date.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
I know. Right.
And they don't dwell on that kind of thing.
Yep.
It's just, it's so sharply written. I just love it.
Yes. This is a brilliant film.
Yeah, man. And that's it. Cue the credits, man.
Right.
Whew, baby. Dave, do you have anything else?
Okay, well, look, everybody, just be careful out there. That's all I ask when it comes to, we don't know what our society is going to be like, 5 months from now, let alone 5 years from now, as far as, like, what's going on with technology. I mean, my biggest beef with it is that I don't like what it's done to not only human interaction, but that we can't even believe our own eyes anymore with the proliferation of deep fakes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Last year when I was watching NFL games, I was inundated with ads for Google's new Pixel phone, and its main feature was its photo editing software.
Mm-hmm.
The way they visualized it was several vignettes where the pictures people took were, for one reason or another, unsatisfying.
Yeah.
In one of them, this person set up their camera to snap a picture of themselves leaping in the air at like a famous intersection. And after the picture is captured, you see the software move the person in the photograph to make it look like they jumped higher than they really did.
Man.
There's another one where people take a group picture and their eyes are closed or they make a derp face or something. And once again, the software activates. And just like that, everybody looks their best.
Yep.
And then there's this family vacation where like the software removes the people in the background to make a more seamless look for the family.
Yeah.
This all feels harmless until you realize that this technology makes the spread of misinformation so easy.
Yeah.
But of course, it's just advertised as the coolest thing that you'd need to have.
Mm-hmm.
And they use young people in the ads.
Yeah, they do.
And they're selling it as like not only the future, but it's like it's the now too. And if you don't have it, you're nothing.
That's right, dude.
I can't
Get on it.
stand it.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just
I feel you.
yeah.
I feel you, man.
I know. I know.
I hate those commercials too. Like, I got so sick of them. There's one where there's this Korean kid dancing.
Uh-huh.
And is that the one where he jumps?
Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I hate that one.
I know. It sucks. It sucks because he's like, he looks like every asshole on TikTok.
That's what it is,
right?
man.
Yes.
Oh, God.
man,
By the
yeah.
way, follow us on TikTok, everybody.
Shit, that's right.
We're just another asshole. We
we
won't
are.
be doing jump AI photos.
No,
I'll guarantee you that.
absolutely not. No.
All right, Dave. So would you recommend this movie?
Oh, man, 100%. Yeah. Watch Her, everybody. Spike Jonze's Her is one of the best movies of the last 20 years.
It definitely is. It's phenomenal. You have to watch it. Even if we spoiled it for you, every frame of this film is worth seeing.
Yes.
Experience it and fall in love and fall out of love. There you go.
That's right.
Be careful with your AI, of course. All right, so that wraps things up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcasts. Rate it, review it, and most of all, share it. It gets more dudes listening to the dudes, and you can go to dudesonmovies.com and find anything you need right there.
Yep, and we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram. Look for Dudes on Movies, and our email address is dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right, Dave, and we have a question of the week. What is the question of the week?
What are the best movies in which a computer drives the story?
Ooh, Dave, there's some classics in there that many people can choose from, so hit us up and let us know. And stay tuned next week when we discuss 2007's Zodiac, directed by David Fincher and starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. So until next week, I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And we'll see you next time.